Hey! Oh, a table? Who let this thing in? This guy was tall. He was the first Republican president elected in 1860 with a free soil platform, something that didn't please the people of South Carolina. They succeeded on December 20th, 1860, followed by Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, Virginia, Arkansas, North Carolina, and Tennessee, and if Lincoln hadn't instated martial law, then the border states likely would have joined the Confed.
Hey, you should leave.
No, I don't think we should. Lincoln just kind of suspended habeas corpus so that he could arrest whoever he wanted. You gotta do what you need to in a time of war. We're moving on to Bull Run. You can leave now. Make me! On July 21st, 1861, Brigadier General Irvin McDowell attacked the Confederate Army on Matthews Hill. Although pushed back to Henry Hill at first, Confederate reinforcements broke the Union flank and forced the Union Army to retreat. Thomas J. Jackson earned the title Stonewall Jackson in this battle. By July 22nd, the remainder of the Union Army returned to safety in Washington. The battle made it clear there would be no easy victory for the North. But next up, we have Stonewall Jackson, one of two figures in recent history known primarily for walls. General Thomas Stonewall Jackson led Confederate reinforcements in the First Battle of Bull Run in July 1861. Stonewall Jackson led his reinforcements against the 30,000 assaulting Union soldiers and pushed them back in a disorderly and panicky flight back to Washington. He earned his name of Stonewall Jackson by rushing his forces between an approaching Union attack and having one of his men comment, "Look, men, there is Jackson standing like a stone wall." He was promoted from a colonel to a brigadier general under General Joseph E. Johnston. He was instrumental in a deciding factor in many Confederate victories over the Union. Antietam was not one of the Confederate victories. General Robert E. Lee crossed the Potomac and launched an invasion of Maryland. The Confederacy did not aim to conquer the Union, but believed an invasion would sap Union morale and force them to sue for peace. However, the Union intercepted the Confederate plans, and General McClellan confronted the Confederates at Antietam Creek. In the ensuing battle, 22,000 soldiers were killed, the bloodiest single day of the war, and although neither side was decisively defeated, Lee was forced to withdraw, making the battle an important morale booster for the Union. The battle boosted the Union's credibility and helped prevent France and Britain from recognizing the CSA. It also enabled Lincoln to bring forth the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing all slaves in the Union and promising freedom to all slaves when the Union reclaimed the South. It shifted the goal of war from reconnecting the Union to freeing all slaves and brought more abolitionist support. Now imagine, if you will, you're celebrating the 4th of July in Texas when someone runs up to you and says after 6 weeks, Vicksburg surrendered to Grant and now the Union has control of the Mississippi. What do you think? Well, if you're like most Southerners, you probably just go, but if you're Lincoln, you're probably thinking,
Is it score 25? I think it's 25.
because your troops
Wait,
just
no,
repelled the Confederate
that's not
invasion
right.
of Gettysburg.
Is it?
You've got to tell your troops to keep fighting until the end, because this war is one that will decide whether or not a country with liberty is with a founding element will survive. Some of these troops, however, would not be too pleased with their future in Andersonville. This Confederate prison was a sanitation nightmare. It was overcrowded, lacking fresh water, and spread disease so fast its death rate was double that of a normal Confederate prison. Sherman's March to the Sea was a campaign he embarked on with 100,000 soldiers that would march through Atlanta and end up in Columbia, South Carolina. He burnt and pillaged everything he went, annexed Atlanta, and basically crushed Southern morale and mobility in one fell swoop. The election of 1864 features Lincoln re-election into office. He faced a difficult election due to the failing popularity of the Emancipation Proclamation. Democrats feared that the Emancipation was a war goal and called for armistice and negotiations between North and South. The Radicals saw the Emancipation as a war goal as well and dismissed Lincoln's plan to re-admit the Union-occupied parts of Tennessee, Louisiana, and Arkansas into the Union. Lincoln was facing slim chances at re-election, but once Atlanta fell, he gained a large support and the anti-war movement dissipated. He then swept 212 out of 233 electoral votes. After his re-election, Congress passed the 13th Amendment in 1865. Eponymous Courthouse, location Virginia, east of Lynchburg. This location is significant because it was where the Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered to the Union General Ulysses S. Grant and ended the American Civil War on April 9, 1865. Grant continued to push Lee into southern Virginia before Lee fled to Lynchburg and planned to meet General Joseph Johnston, whose forces were located in North Carolina, but Grant and Sheridan choked the Confederate forces and Lee was met with the end and was forced to surrender at Eponymous Courthouse in April 1965. I'm done!